some index cards. Miss Renfro put some index cards for me. What those are, sometimes you don't have to take notes. I'll send this to you so that you can have it. But I know sometimes you think of a question that you need to write down right that second. If you have a question during this, then jot it down on that index card. We'll turn it in. That way, questions can be answered. You can put your name on there or not. It doesn't matter. But if there are questions, then we know that there's not a clear understanding. So first of all, I have a prize for the first person that can tell me what RTI means. Yell it out. I heard Jessica first. Oh, sorry. Good catch. I want that prize. All right, so response to intervention. When I started out in the classroom and I would go to these PDs and they would say RTI, RTI, I had no idea. I was like, oh yeah, we're doing small groups. We're doing reading groups. That's our response to intervention. Well, really, it is not. Most of you probably do this. Most of you probably do this very, very well. And so this is mostly just a refresher or for the new people who are here and something to kind of align everybody. So Miss Collins has done a lot of work setting up this RTI plan. She went through, she looked at what you did in the building, what the teachers do. She looked at what was missing, because there were some things that were missing and that the state said this needed to be in your plan.
But that doesn't mean that we can't modify it or change it. We just had to have something to start with.
Right. So she and I are going to kind of talk through this. Like she said, this is not something that if you think this is not going to work, she's your resource to talk about it. Thank you. So before we get started, we haven't done any our good things today. So at your table, I want you to think about your RTI that you've done in the past. If you've not done RTI, just kind of listen to your people at your table, because I think everybody is with somebody who's done RTI. So at your table, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to talk about something you were proud of with your RTI, or something, how do you hope to grow this year? Okay? You have 2 minutes. And then I'm gonna give you a chance to talk about it. Is there somebody that would like to share out something that you were proud of last year? Something that you thought, man, this really worked. I'm going to do it again this year for sure. Something you're really proud of. Anybody? We had some really good scores, so somebody was doing something right. So what is something you were proud of? Anybody move?
Very consistent.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by consistent? Tell me more.
Every day at that time. It wasn't, oh, we're going to skip that day. That was like preaching hour at church. Like that was the thing you didn't miss.
Consistency. Do y'all agree? Do y'all agree consistency? Very good. All right. Anything else you were proud of last year that you did in your room with RTI?
Maybe being prepared for the intervention instead of just throwing something together because they walked in.
Preparation, being prepared. So consistency, being prepared. One more.
New activities, like I got new ideas and I was excited about them, and instead of just pulling back small groups and doing things with kids, I thought, okay, if these 5 don't know it, there may be 3 other that really don't understand it, so I'm gonna do a whole group and we're gonna like move around and be a little silly and we're gonna learn something, and maybe it was a review for some, but it was fun, so.
Good. New ideas that kept the kids engaged. Very good. All right, so how do you hope to grow this year? Not necessarily that you did anything that was bad or wrong, but we always want to grow because that's our theme this year is grow. So how do you hope to grow in regards to RTI this year?
I would like to help kids be more motivated to learn, because I could tell a big difference in the ones who were pretty self-motivated and then the ones who didn't have that. And so if I can fill in that gap, that would help me and them a lot.
Okay. Do y'all agree that motivation is kind of a big issue that we need to work on with the kiddos? Mm-hmm. Anything else? Anybody else that wants to grow something this year?
I want to do more math small groups, whether it's in the classroom of a small group math or even intervention, but more the foundational skills
Yeah.
of
So
the math overall.
good. Smaller groups, more targeted. Very good. All right. So, and you've got the cards if you have questions. So these are the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the approach to the RTI, the method, implementing it, what are the different types of RTI, requirements, what do we have to do, who does the RTI, who does the intervention, how much intervention do we need, and how does that relate to the core instruction. So our approach, when we have RTI, you know, we're all used to dibbles, and if you've not given dibbles, you will. The dibbles, we're gonna all use the 8th edition. Is that what everybody uses, the 8th edition across the board?
And I've dropped that in your Dibbles file. I've dropped that and the rest of the tests in your Dibbles file that is in your 2022 school year.
Okay. The K2 RAN test, Ashley, do you want to kind of talk about that just a little bit?
It's very important for the kindergartners to give that. I mean, it's one of the things that I have to look at for those at-risk kids. Doesn't say all end all, but I do have to have that for them. I do have color copies. I don't care if you pull it up on the computer, but I do need that for sure from kindergarten and first and second, because if they're having a lot of errors, then there's something that's going on that we need to look deeper into.
Okay. The past assessment, raise your hand if you've given the past assessment. Good. Even some of the new teachers have given the past assessment. Very good, very good.
Can I stop on that?
Yep, absolutely.
Please, whenever you do it, make sure you score it all the way at the top, because when you go through and you score it, and you see, like, when you add up the scores on the, the totals, and you put it back at the top, that's where it's gonna tell you to go to that Equip Ready for Success to do those 1-minute drills. If you need help doing that, I can show you really quick. It's not hard, but that's gonna show you exactly where to go back. And I know I was just as bad, but then I realized that's how we're more accurate on what we're toning in, what they need to know.
So don't just give it, also score it, because that's where you
Like
know
at
where
the
to go.
top, it'll say over on the right, and I did not learn how to score that in RISE. I had to learn that myself. But at the top, at the right, it'll say like whatever their level is, and then their highest level, and then where they had a lot of errors, or not errors, but they just weren't automatic, and that's where you go back to.
And if you have any questions about any of these assessments, Ms. Collins can help you. I can help you some. Ms. Rogers is really good. So for any of the new ones, those are going to be your supports that if you're not sure how to do it or how to score it. So you give the test 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. So pretty much, Ms. Collins, when do you want them to have the first set of assessments?
I would like it the first week. I know that's not ideal. I would like it the first week. I know, or the second week.
Just one of them, the first week.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have the dibbles first, and then you can work through the others. But yes, I would like to decide as a grade when we're gonna get, or as a school when we're gonna give and when the deadline is. That way it's consistent, because I know some grades like to give it before they leave for Christmas. Some like to give it when they get back from Christmas. I just want it to be consistent. That way I know, everybody knows, like, this is the week that we're gonna benchmark, you know, for the year. So we can talk more about that later. Don't worry about that. I mean, we'll talk more about when all that'll be.
Okay, so at least dibbles by the second, beginning of third
Yeah,
week.
we'll talk more, just
Okay.
sometime in the first 2 weeks, yeah.
So for K2, it's gonna be, I mean, the teacher that gives the test. For 3-4, it'll be the literacy teacher, whoever's doing the literacy. If the SPED teacher, special ed teacher, and the homeroom teacher are both going to give the assessments, so that it kind of gives a cross look at the students. Kind of just gives a more in-depth look at the students. So you'll be given the same assessments that the teachers give. Okay. All right. So when we talk about dibbles and pass, it's really easy, especially if you're a visual learner. If you'll click on this, that should take us to an example. I deleted all the names. This is basically what a spreadsheet looks like, a tracker for them. And a lot of you, like I said, a lot of you do this. This is more for the ones who've never done this before. The green, great. Yellow, the in the middle, the red, at risk. The blue, that's the exceeding. Is that correct? Okay. So you can kind of see what it looks like just by looking at that. You know kind of where your kids are. Okay. All right.
And the tracker that is in there, I mean, I know that Ms. Ryan had already asked me, just make it however, like, I know everybody has different preferences on how you want to do it. So just as long as the colors are there, the formatting and all that, make that however you want it. I've made sheets at the bottom for each classroom teacher, but if you want it all on one sheet, however it works for you guys.
All right, so,
sorry.
that's okay. All right, click on that. This is the past. This was, I think, probably kindergarten a couple of years ago. I just went through and found them and deleted the names. And so you can scroll down. Oh, it does have a name on there. Yeah. There we go. Well, I don't know why it went to...
Oh, it's because I clicked on her.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically they're correct, they're automatic, and it just gives you a look at, a quick look to see how many students, it's just an example. All right, so once you get these trackers going, you're going to share these with Ms. Collins and with the principal, because they're gonna wanna follow that as well.
And you don't necessarily have to share it, just the lead teacher say we have it in, send me an email, or Mr. Spraggins email, we have it in, so we'll know. I mean, you don't have to share it back to us, just email us and let us know.
Okay. All right, so when you're doing this, you're going to progress monitor. The classroom teacher is going to be the progress monitor. If the student is at risk, you're going to progress monitor every 2 weeks. And that's, do you have those in the?
Yeah, I put that in there, and I made them a progress monitoring little thing on the
Okay.
side.
Same thing, special ed is gonna also progress monitor the kids just to get that in-depth look. Got the tracker created, the data goes in the tracker. The past is really for phonological skills, the phonemic awareness. You're gonna retest if they are not automatic in those spots. You're gonna use the equipped for reading book. Raise your hand if you do not know what this book is. Okay, so,
I can see her.
yeah.
If I can get her one. I have plenty
Yeah.
of extra. So. It's okay. I'll help you.
These are the quick little drills that'll help with your interventions, and then you'll retest the past every 4 weeks. Just on the ones they were not automatic on.
That,
Put a little explanation on that.
the past, I mean, that's just for us to track and see, are they making progress? If they're not, then we've got to do something, because like Tammy said yesterday, K2, the oral stuff, I mean, it's mainly oral, and that's how they have to have phonemic awareness for us to get them to start to read. So we just need to know if they're not making progress, then let's do something different. And that's just, I put that number just so we can have some kind of system in
Yeah,
place.
because you don't want to wait till the 9 weeks and then they're so far behind you're struggling to catch up. Okay. So tier 1 is classroom instruction. That's the whole group, your essential standards, the 8 to 10 essential standards, you teach the whole group. Then you give the common formative assessment covering those standards. Then you go through and there's, say, 3 students that didn't really get it, kind of like what you're talking about. They just didn't get it. Maybe they needed it taught a different way. So then you go to these, say, 4 students didn't really get it. You pull them into tier 2. It's the essential standard, targeted learning. You reteach the standard for 6 to 10 days, and then you give the same CFA. And
Hold on, yes. No. Just re-get a CFA that covers that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, we had that discussion yesterday. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you give your CFA, then say there's one student that still doesn't get it, then they go to tier 3. But also, if they are below 20% in the NWEA or at risk NDIBLs, they are also in a tier 3.
And I think, yes, that is tier 3, but I think we can also say that's the tier 2 plus that Tammy was talking about, too, so kind of meshing those.
Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is your whole class. You give your whole class the dibbles, you teach the lesson, you go through the CFA. There were a few students who didn't get it, so they're going to move to the tier 2. There was one student who didn't get it or is at risk. When you give the screening, they go to the tier 3. So when you are in the tier 1, the instruction is the CKLA, the whole group. K2, you add the phonics first to that, because we decided that we were going to just do the phonics first part and then the other CKLA. Tier 2, the CKLA, Lakeshore kits, teacher-made projects, phonics first. Anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, you guys know what they need, so if you need to pull something else, that's not saying you have to do that. Whatever, I mean, you know what they're going to do.
Yeah, those are just suggestions. So, tier 3, talk about tier 3 a little bit.
So tier 3 are like, you guys are going to have some tier 3s that you're going to work on in your classroom too. And when you're not making progress at the tier 3, when you cannot do anything else, then that's when you're going to send me, Mr. Spraggins, Miss Kinzer, and Miss Rogers an email. And we're going to set up a meeting with all your data, and then that's where we're going to look at it, and then we can say, are they a good candidate for take flat, or do we need to do something else? But we're not just going to throw them in take flat. But yes, take flat is a tier 3 intervention, but you can also do the tier 3 intervention.
Okay. So any questions so far? I mean, anything am I going too fast, or? I know it's a lot, but it's really laid out very clear.
Are you going to send this to us?
Yes.
Some of us are
Yes.
in and out.
Yes, I'll send this to you. And even like on the bottom, it has some notes. It's basically what Miss Collins wrote out. I just copied and pasted it, so it'll be right there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So phonics first. When you do the intervention for phonics first, tell me if I'm not saying this right. When you do the interventions for phonics first, you want to do it 4 days a week, at least 15 minutes, no more than 5 students. Now, explain the layer spelling inventory, which y'all did last year.
There is a layered spelling inventory that we can give. So say you have taught, you're on your vertical